Good afternoon guys, and today I'm going to be making one of my flat's favourite, floured tortillas. Now these are very basic ingredients, and more often than not taste a lot better than the ones you find at the shop. So we'll get straight on into it, and I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, somehow I've managed to erase the beginning of this video, so I'm just going to tell you what I've got in the bowl up until now. I've got 4 cups of flour, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, 4 teaspoons of oil, and 1.5 cups of warm water. Now it can also be warm milk. Now I'm sorry about this, the ingredients will be below as usual, and we'll continue from now. As I have been doing, all we're going to do is mix these ingredients together until we get a nice dough at the end. Now once we have our dough, we're going to remove it from the bowl, and like with nearly every dough, we're going to knead it. So we're going to knead it until it gets nice and smooth and elasticy. As I have discussed in my pizza dough recipe, it's essential that you knead the dough. It breaks down the proteins in the flour, releases the gluten, and gives it a nice texture when we bake it. So this is what we're after. After about 10 to 15 minutes of kneading, you should be nearly done. So this is what you're sort of after, a nice smooth and silky dough. All we're going to do now is we're going to roll it out into a sausage shape. This will make it easier to separate the little balls of dough we're after. Now all we're going to do is going to cut this sausage into even segments. Now I have 13 segments out of this dough. You should roughly get about 12 segments. I've stretched mine out. So you can cut this sausage up into 12 segments and roll each segment into a nice little ball like so. Once we've rolled up all the segments into the balls we're after, we're going to stick these on a plate, and what we're going to do, we're just going to cover the plate with a clean tea towel. We're going to let it rest for about 15 minutes, and I'll explain later as to why we rest it. Okie doke, it's been about 15 minutes, and we're going to start rolling our very first ball. We're going to lightly flour a work surface, and here is our ball, and we're just going to roll this out. Now, I'm not sure if you can see this, but as I roll it out, the dough will contract. This is indicative of the dough not being rested enough. We need to rest it a little bit longer, so when you roll it out, the dough remains still and does not pull back in towards itself. Okay, so they've rested a little bit longer. Now we're going to roll it out, and what we're after, we want to get it as thin as you possibly can. Just bear in mind that this dough is going to puff up a little bit when you cook it, so the thinner it is, the more tortilla-like it will be. Otherwise it might be a bit thick and it'll be quite difficult to fold. So get it as thin as possible, and make sure you keep flouring the surface. You don't want it to stick. Even then you can see it contract a little bit. It's okay, but just a lot easier if you rest it a little bit longer. While we've been rolling out the dough, I've just had a pan heating up on the element. You can use a skillet here as well. We want it as hot as possible, so when we put the dough on, it bubbles straight away. Now each side of the tortilla is going to take roughly about 30 seconds, but keep an eye on it. You do not want it to crisp. As soon as it crisps, your tortilla will crack when you roll it. So we still want it to be nice and flexible, but cooked at the same time. Once each tortilla is cooked, we're going to take it straight off the heat and put it on a wire rack to cool down. Now this is pretty much it. You can obviously add fillings to your tortillas. This tutorial is only covering the making of the tortilla itself. So you can add a minced mixture, fresh vegetables, and fold her up, and away you go. Okay, thanks for watching, and keep up to date. I've got a pita bread recipe coming up shortly.